Do you know what's really, really terrifying? When you're just hanging out in the catacombs below Paris, and all of a sudden you hear this. Hello everyone, and today I'm a bit out of ideas because it's still a little bit before Insidious 5 releases, but I thought this would be a good opportunity to start something new on my channel, and just something that I do every once in a while, not too frequently, but just whenever I feel like it, maybe once a month or something like that, once every 2 months, once every 6 weeks, whatever. I'm going to do it every once in a while, and that is a video reviewing a movie that I would consider to be a hidden gem. And when I say hidden gem, I mean movies that I think are either underrated, underseen, or unfairly overlooked. And last night I watched a movie called As Above, So Below and really liked it. And then I went and checked the Rotten Tomatoes score and was like, what the fuck? And I checked the Metacritic score and I was like, what? What were these people on? So yeah, it was like a 28% on Rotten Tomatoes, which basically people can misunderstand what that means. It basically means only 28% of critics who watched it would recommend it. It's not an average weighted score, it's just what percentage of critics who watched the film would recommend it. And I think that's extremely low. So, and same Metacritic, that's actually more of a weighted score. That's 39% or something like that. I can't believe it, because I watched this movie and thought it was pretty damn solid. And this is a video, more of just a recommendation. It's not going to be an overly long review, but yeah, let's get into it. Starting off with the positives of this thing, I think that the concept of there being a hellish underworld deep in the catacombs of Paris is so genius, original, and terrifying. It kind of harkens back to The Descent in some ways, that Neil Marshall film, which I think is really, really good. And this film definitely isn't quite as good as The Descent, but it's not overly derivative to the point that it's like, oh, this is just The Descent again. It's kind of taking that creepy concept of The Descent and completely just spinning it on its head and turning it into something really clever and creative. And on top of the film having a great concept, I actually think it executed on it really, really well. I wasn't really sure where it was going to go, and like once it kind of like the revelations in the third act about exactly what's going on, I thought it was just brilliant. And I think it's a geniusly layered film. Like you can watch it as a scary story, you can watch it and just enjoy it as them exploring Paris, the catacombs and stuff like that. You can watch it as just like a ghost story or whatever. But you can actually look into this film and realize what's going on. It's really damn clever. Like, there's so much stuff that happens, and I'm just like, that is sick. I'm trying to dance around any spoilers because I do really recommend that you watch this one, but I think that the way this film goes about its characters and the way they are trapped in this place and why they're trapped and exactly what's happening, I think is just genius. Also, this movie is scary. It is a really tense and terrifying movie that is just claustrophobic as hell. There's a lot of good scares, a lot of memorable scares, a lot of things that make you go, ugh! I watched this last night, just with all the lights off and stuff like that, and it got to me. I'm telling you, this movie creeped me out. Also, I think all the acting in this film was really, really good. The characters, the only character that I thought was actually quite interesting was Scarlett. She's a bit of a pain in the ass, but she's kind of the character that you'll want to know more about, which I did, and you do find out more about. And it doesn't justify her acting like a complete fucking twat, but it gives reason for it, and I think it makes it more of a compelling watch. Now, getting into the negative sides of this film, I do think that the found footage genre is just dog shit. Okay. Look, I was trying to find a way to like make it sound like, a bit nicer or something like that, but I thought, nah, fuck it, whatever. This subgenre is shit. I hate it. There's only one movie in the found footage genre that I genuinely love, and it's this one right here, Cloverfield. This is a brilliant film because it's short, to the point, and it's found footage for a reason, because you actually almost feel like you are in the aftermath of this horrible thing, and a bit of post 9/11 commentary. I think it's really, its use is justified in this film. As above, so below, the overall reason it's found footage is because they're traveling down into the catacombs and they want to be able to get the inscriptions on certain things on camera so they can take it back up and decipher it, which is fine. But there are some points when I'm watching this, I'm thinking, why is this found footage? This could be even creepier and even better if it wasn't found footage, I think. Yeah. But I don't like the subgenre, and I don't think it was used overly well in this film. Also, some of the side characters, there's literally nothing to them. They're just corpses, basically, ready to be killed, which is fine, but I kind of wish they had a little bit more to do, because as much as I found Scarlett to be an interesting character, she did get to be a bit grating after a while. And yeah, I just wish there was a little bit more done with the others. But overall, guys, I really enjoyed As Above, So Below. I'm about to give you my rating now, but stick around afterwards if you have seen the movie, because I just want to mention what I think makes the movie so good in its own regard, because I feel like I kind of need to talk about this, get this off my chest, and why I think that it was just sorely misjudged by the majority of critics and audiences alike, because I do think that this movie is brilliant. I'm going to give As Above, So Below 3.5 stars. Spoiler warning for anyone who hasn't seen this movie, I do recommend you watch it, definitely. That's why I kind of made this video. And go in with an open mindset too. But this last part, I just wanted to talk about why I think this movie is so genius in its story and scares department. The way the catacombs act as the circles of hell is just brilliant. And the way the characters are forced to face their own traumas, and maybe not even traumas sometimes just their own misdeeds and mistakes, and being forced to kind of right the wrongs of their past, I think is brilliant, because it really brings out the human nature or human condition in these characters. Whereas, for example, you have the one guy, I can't remember, he had a really weird French name, so I'm not going to try and butcher it, but him and his brother are in a car accident, and his brother ended up dying in it. And they go down, and there's one scene when you see the brother's corpse, zombie corpse, kind of still alive in the car, and he starts shouting, "It's not my fault! It's not my fault! It's not my fault!" And then all of a sudden, an evil force just drags him into the car, and they just get sucked down, presumably to hell, because the car just kind of implodes and just shoots down. And I think that's them getting sent to hell, which makes sense to me, because he didn't face his own sins, he didn't confess his sins, he's a sinner, and he hasn't faced redemption, or he hasn't redeemed himself. I'm struggling to phrase this right, because I'm not a very Christian heavy person. I don't know a lot about it, but that was my takeaway from that. And then, for example, Scarlett's character, when she comes across the ghost of her dad hanging, she apologizes for not answering his call before he killed himself, and which they don't exactly say what they were going to talk about, but I'm guessing it was something to do with just the treacherous nature of being a Tomb Raider, basically, and they could have bonded a bit more, and she apologized to him, and then she ended up getting out. That's why I think this movie is genius. It's forcing these people are basically being stood up to the gates of hell, and they're either going to confess their sins and be given grace, or they are just going to be trapped in their own world of just denial and guilt, but never actually admitting it, and basically be forced to go to hell. I think it's brilliant. I just think it's so cool. It's kind of a bit of a riff on Dante's Inferno, all the different levels that they go to are like the circles of hell. This movie is fantastic, and I feel like so many people just ignore that, and I'm just like, why? Why are people not talking about this? I see people, like, I've watched a bunch of reviews last night. I was like, why do people not like this? And everyone's just like, it's just a cliched, boring, mediocre, unoriginal found footage film. And I'm like, are you actually, like, even slightly looking into this? Because this is some seriously cool shit. Anyway, that's my thoughts on As Above, So Below. Please check out this movie if you haven't already. And if you didn't like the movie, feel free to let me know in the comments, because I'm always open to hear why people actually maybe didn't like the movie. But hopefully hearing me talk about this has given you some kind of insight into why I think it's so good. And I'll see you all later. Bye.